Oh, wow, I'm really dark. Why am I so dark? I have the light on. Well, we'll just go with it. I don't know how to fix it. The light's right there.
That's, oh, maybe it's creating a shadow.
I don't know. No. I don't know. It's almost like well, it's over my head, like Kristen's is to her side. Mine's literally right above my computer and me.
When you guys look at my picture, does it look like I have like a ghostly figure like right up through
Yes.
here?
Take a piece of cloth and clean your lens on your camera.
I kind of dig it.
Okay, that's fine. But it's just a smudge. The light's picking up the smudge of a finger.
Yes.
Oh, I see. I think it's kind of cool. It makes me look mysterious.
Yes, very mysterious.
Let's see.
Yeah, it happens a lot with cell phones. Everybody takes a picture and like, why is my picture blurry? Well, if you clean the lens of your cell phone,
Oh,
you take a picture, you'll get a better picture.
look at,
There you go.
you're the smart one.
No, that was the photography class.
I kind of liked it. I want to see if I.
You can. Just a little grease on your finger, you know, a little lotion, and then touch your lens. Chris is asking who's on here. It's Becky, Susie Mosier, April Stein, Mike Dvinsky, and Kristen.
And Becky.
And Becky.
Hi, Chris.
Hello.
He's fiddling in the kitchen. I see Sue, Kristen.
Oh, we're just missing Melody. Oh, is that right?
Mike, yeah. I think we have a quorum now, though.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, we have a quorum. There you go. Now you're all on the same screen. Just move my agenda to my other. You guys go over here. All right. Maybe we'll just wait on one minute more and see if I see Mary Jo. Can anybody hear that noise on my microphone? No?
I didn't hear that.
Does anyone hear a noise on my microphone?
No.
No.
Oh.
Okay, perfect. All right. Shall we call ourselves to order? Okay. Okay, we're all in order. Let's review the agenda. I know we do have a hard stop tonight at 7. So let's try to keep tabs on that tonight. And so the reviewing the agenda, we have the minutes of January 6th. Yes, Becky?
Could we try to stop by 5 up? Because I know a couple people have to be somewhere at 7.
Sure.
That'd be great. Thanks.
I'm gonna try and Becky, help me with that time, or
Yeah.
whoever would like to help me with that time.
Okay.
So but we'll end the meeting at 6:55. We have the agenda. Yes, Mary Jo?
Just to let you know, Mel's trying to get in.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you.
Got her. And so review the minutes of January 6th, approve the survey and distribute method, but I think we meant to change it to update on the survey and distribution method. So we'll change that to an update. Other town police budgets, review other reports and materials, schedule next meeting.
And we have many other minutes. We have minutes from the 23rd and the 9th of December to do, so.
I think we'll do the 6th tonight, and then those we can do at the next meeting, unless everyone feels prepared to do those as well. We can talk about that. So anybody have anything you want to add or change with this agenda? Mike?
I have a quick question. One of the topics is review other reports and materials. What exactly is that?
That was open-ended. I don't think we had any specific thing to report. If anyone had a report, we could do that at that moment. It's a space saver.
I just, you know, I look at these agendas and try to come to these meetings prepared for what we're going to discuss. And it's very difficult to try to figure out where we're going on each of these meetings. Is there a way that we can get the agenda items a little bit more specific so that there's an idea about what we're supposed to be talking about?
When we set the next meeting, we can talk about those agenda items for the next meeting and maybe make them more specific.
All right.
Okay, let's see. Jeff, you have your hand up. I know we don't have public comment here, but go ahead, Jeff.
It's sort of germane to the agenda item that Mike brought up. I wrote you folks a letter a couple of weeks ago after your meeting before last, and it was a reaction to the meeting, and it had some suggestions in it. I'm just wondering if that letter and the ideas that were in it were going to be discussed during that time period tonight, other materials. So I guess that's my question.
And we did not set that particular email for that report, that section. No, we hadn't set that.
Yeah, I didn't know, I was unsure if there was anything else that needed to go out with the survey. So that's the item, was in case there was another drafter of the letter if we hadn't passed, because it was set before we the survey was approved at the last meeting.
And,
Yeah,
and to review some of what people might be working on, or, you know, so it's kind of just an overall review. There wasn't anything set. Like I said, it was a placeholder for some things. So.
Okay. Well, I guess when someone goes to the trouble of writing a 2-page letter with lots of ideas and suggestions in it, they kind of appreciate some time on the agenda to discuss it at some point. I'm just trying to figure out when that might be.
Our past agendas had been focused on the survey because we had to get that going and out so we could get it back. So going forward, our agendas could be more specific, and we'll have other things in them until we get our survey results back. So, but that was our focus of the last couple of meetings, was our survey and approving those items to mail out.
Okay, so they can't be included this evening in that category of your agenda.
Not that no one was expecting that to be specifically there. So we would all want to go back and read your email, Jeff, so we can give it, you know, the time and thoughtfulness that it would deserve. Does that make sense?
Could I make a motion that we put his discussion of his letter on the next agenda?
Second.
Okay. All in favor? Hang on 1 second. I'm writing it down. Okay. All right. All in favor? I'll go roll call. Kristen.
Burgess, aye.
Melody.
Chartier, aye.
Mike.
Pinsky, aye.
Cheryl.
Hayden, aye.
Rita. I don't mean.
Carol, aye.
Susie.
Ozier, aye.
Mary Jo. I think that was Johnson, I.
Sorry, yes, it was. Read lips much? Yeah, thanks.
Only those two. And Makepeace O'Neill, I. Okay, so we'll put that on the agenda for the next one.
So that looks like February 3rd. Is that likely,
Mhm.
the date?
All right, Mary Jo, you have your hand up, and then we'll move on to the minutes. Go ahead.
Okay, I'll look for that meeting, and thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you, Jeff.
And good evening.
Mary Jo, you're muted.
Sorry, I'm trying to limit feedback. I actually have a procedural question because I noticed that there's an issue with open meeting law if one of us emails the group in between our meetings. And I'm wondering in terms of if somebody from the public emails, is that appropriate? I'm not looking for an answer right now, but I'm just asking. And the other thing is just a comment. I think it would be very helpful if we take a look at our charge again and go over like an outline for where we would like to go in terms of producing a report.
Yes.
Like what would the sections be and who can work on those sections? I think that would be really helpful.
Okay. Then we add that to the next one as well, the next meeting as well. To answer your question about the public can email the entire group. There's no open meeting law with the public doing it. It's among the members of the committee emailing amongst each other. So yeah, the public can throw in emails, opinion and everything else. It's us doing it with each other.
Okay, thanks for that clarification.
You're welcome. Okay, so moving on to the minutes for January 6th. And I know, Cheryl, you had sent us some edits, which I was...
No, that was December 9th.
Oh, December 9th. Okay, never mind. Thank you. I'm sorry. I just saw minutes and assumed they were for tonight. So I apologize. That was my assumption. Okay, so January 3rd.
Could you put those up?
Yeah, I'm looking for them. Give me 1 second.
I can do that, Melissa. I think
Got 'em right there? Yeah, go ahead. Can you share them?
we're talking about the one, the 12/9.
No, January 6th.
Okay, 1 second.
That's what's on the agenda.
Oh, thank you, Becky. That's quick. Can you do me a favor, Becky? Can you make it just a slight bit larger on your screen?
Maybe more than a slight bit.
I have a large screen, so it's a little bit large. So if you hit view at the top, it should allow you. I know you can't see my cursor. I'm trying to do it.
I don't have access to the right.
The top edge.
No, it's not showing me that the edges are.
Got it now. So at the very top line, it says view. I think you'd be able to increase it. Or you can do it that way.
Can
That's
everyone see now?
Yes, thank you.
All right. Do we have, I just moved my screen. Do we have a motion to approve?
I have a question.
Yep.
Susie, you did these, right?
Yep.
Is this is this the one that you revised?
No, this is January 6th. I revised December 23rd.
Because I thought the revisions were excellent. Could you move it up to the next page? I don't remember reading these, so I apologize.
Oh,
Just giving them a scan over. It'd been a little bit since I've read them.
And could you move it up again, please?
mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Do I hear a motion to approve and then we can go through edits?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay. Does anyone have any edits or comments, questions?
I do.
Okay, Mike, go ahead.
Okay, on the paragraph discussion of the on-call model. I'd like to see that first sentence. To see that first sentence change to read, Mike Vinsky's on-call model was presented to the committee for discussion. Because this topic was not listed as a separate agenda item, it was recommended it be discussed in relation to adding this model to the survey cover letter.
The sent was
You'll need to send me a text. I'm not going to try to do dictation right now. So that's
Okay, I'll send that to you. And then the paragraph about questions were raised. I'd like to see that first sentence changed to read, relocation reimbursement for an officer to move to Shutesbury could be possible. And then the second sentence, I'd like it to read, additional research would be required to determine if this model is in use in any other town.
so my format was to list the questions, not to cover the discussion, and then to respond, to list some of the responses that were in the minutes or in the meeting. So I list the questions and then I list some of the discussion.
That's fine, except that I don't feel that the questions or the answers as you have them were what actually took place.
Do people feel that the format of listing the questions that were raised and then followed with some of the discussion that happened captures the substance of the meeting?
That is one valid way of doing it, yes.
I think it's okay. Yeah. I've seen minutes done many ways, and I think that fulfills the need. The videos are also available in this case, so the two can go hand in hand with each other.
That's what I was going to say. Respectfully, I think that it's very reflective of the meeting last week, and having the recording available, if people were questioning what they're reading, they can watch that as well.
Mike, was there any other edits that you might have?
So basically, is that the changes that I'm requesting here that are not going to be made? Is that what the is that what's going to happen?
Can you say them again, Mike? Because I'm sorry, I really honestly, there were so many changes in the structure of the sentence that I really wasn't following you at all. So if you say it again and go down a little bit slower for me, I would be able to follow that better.
Yeah, all right. So that first sentence, the way it reads, it says that the model was presented to the committee for considerations about alternative structure to include in the survey cover letter. That was not how it was presented. It was presented I sent it to Melissa saying, I'd like to talk about this at one of our meetings.
For discussion.
And it comes up at this meeting as a way to be able to discuss it, because it's not on the agenda, was to incorporate it into a discussion of the survey cover letter. So the way this is written is not the way it actually happened. And I just want to correct that to make it clear that the model was being considered as an addition to the survey cover letter only because it wasn't listed on the agenda. I mean, I would have preferred to see this as a standalone agenda item, but not wanting to lose an opportunity to talk about it, I agreed to go ahead and talk about it as it would be added to the survey cover letter.
I thought it was-
So Mike, do you
always
not
had
want
it
it
to
to
be-
be, so you don't want it to be an alternative structure on the cover letter? Is that what you're saying? You don't want it to be stated that it's that?
Well, it has to be stated as that because that's what's happened.
So that's
Um,
what it's saying right now. So I guess I'm asking you why, how do you want it changed? Because right now it's consideration as an alternative structure to include, to be on the survey cover letter. So if I guess I'm confused on why you, or what you want to say.
We had also talked about it in adding it to the survey itself, and it voted not to add it. So it was really to the survey, which would have
No,
been-
I don't believe there was any discussion about adding it to the survey. It was only added to the cover letter.
I remember us taking a vote, I thought.
There's
No,
no
we
place
didn't.
to add it to the survey as the survey is currently structured.
The one question on the survey talks about, I think it's question number 5, talks about, the current model is, police chief with X number of officers. And then it says, are there other options that you're interested in? And it says, refer to the cover letter. So it's not that it was going to be put on the survey, but it was going to, it was going to be put on the cover letter. And that was not my intention, was to have it on the cover letter. My intention was to have it as its standalone discussion. But because it wasn't on the agenda, it couldn't be a standalone discussion. It had to be brought up as a aspect of the cover letter. So I just want to make it clear that it's showing up as an addition to the cover letter, but that wasn't the intent of why I was bringing this up in the first place. And that's the verbiage that I read. Mike Finsky's on-call model was presented to the committee for discussion. Because this topic was not listed as a separate agenda item, it was recommended it be discussed in relation to adding this model to the survey cover letter. And if that's okay, I'll send it to Susie, and I'd appreciate it if she'd change it.
But that wasn't the discussion at the meeting. That was a discussion you had prior to the meeting with Melissa.
No, it wasn't. It was,
Okay,
it
okay.
happened
I
at
don't
the
remember
meeting.
that at the meeting, so that's fine.
There was an item on the agenda called State Police on Call. So there was an agenda items on there,
No, there wasn't.
but it wasn't.
Oh, well, what happened? Melissa
I don't
asked
remember.
me to add
Yes,
on call as an agenda item. So I asked her, well, is that the police, state police on call? And so I wrote it on the agenda as state police on call, because that's the only on-call reference I had. And then
I had
Melissa
said
said
remove-
delete police, state police.
So it got taken off.
item. And so I thought she meant to delete the item. And so I took it back off because of that confusion. She said delete it when I asked it to add, if, anyway, that's why it was deleted, because I had no clue what it was. And the description I got felt incomplete, so I added to it, and that was the problem. And she said delete it, and I deleted it. So that's why it was not on the agenda. There was an attempt to put it on the agenda. There was confusion that it was not. It was a brand new idea that I had no background, or, I didn't know that you had written up a new idea. So that's
And
why it happened.
I was emailing on basically in the middle of here and there, sending emails to Becky, poor Becky. So there was just miscommunication on our part. Susie, I do see your hand.
So the intent of that meeting was to get to the survey and get it done. And that's been the intent that's been discussed at many of our meetings. So, so when a new idea came up, that was an issue about whether we could begin to consider alternative ideas and get the survey out. And so we dealt with it relative to the survey. That was what we were doing. And I know that Mike didn't agree with us that the survey had to get out, but the rest of the committee did. And that was the goal. And that's why the agenda reflected that effort. That's, I feel like this committee gets stuck in the weeds, and it's very frustrating to me.
Yes.
I try to get the minutes to reflect the general approach, the general substance of the meeting. And I feel that if this doesn't reflect the general substance of the meeting, then people can work on it. But I feel like I got to leave at 5:07, and I don't feel like this is a good use of our time.
Well, I apologize for trying to work within these constraints, but at the same time, I'm, as far as this particular point is concerned, I think it's important that this on-call model be brought up for discussion again. And with the minutes written the way they are right now, it's very clear that it's been addressed, it's been handled, and that it's over. And that's not how it happened, and it doesn't leave any leeway for bringing this up again. And I'm not going to go ahead and acquiesce to that. So unless I'm voted down on this right now, then I'm here to make this point.
Melissa?
Becky?
No, I'm just wondering, so it seems like Mike is talking about the concept itself.
Yeah.
Being continued. Maybe, I thought there was a vote on whether to include this concept at that meeting, but clearly.
There was an option to include it on the cover letter and survey, and we had voted it down to include it on those pieces.
So maybe if the committee took a vote now whether to have further discussion on that model or not, that issue can move forward.
Okay.
And we can, because we've already spent a half an hour.
Let's finish the minutes before we do that, Becky, I think.
Okay.
Was there any other minutes, edits to minutes? Or is those the only two?
Yeah, I do. I have another thing then. In the labor laws paragraph, there's a calculation that uses a minimum wage value to get to $131,000. I don't know whose calculation that was, but there's no value for minimum wage. I'd like to see a number in there so that the math works out.
I think it was 15.
I think it was using $15.
It was 15.
Well, 15 doesn't work.
I can look up my notes and send them to Susie from that specific meeting, if we can move on.
Becky, it does work. 15 does give that. It gives 131, 4,000, 131, 400. It does work. Okay, so is there any other amendments to this? Would you change that to 15, Susie? Because it does work. In
Or
that
we
case.
could,
Any other minutes or edits to minutes? No? Okay. So do I hear a motion to approve the minutes as amended? In the way
So
that-
moved.
Okay. Do I hear a second?
I'm sorry,
Okay.
are we voting on as amended with Mr. Vinsky's amendments to his paragraphs?
If the suggested amendments, yes.
I would be willing to incorporate the sentence he has rewritten for discussion of the on-call model, and I don't feel that the other corrections that he mentioned at the lower paragraph need to be incorporated.
Okay. Does anyone else have an opinion either way?
I'm going to agree with Susie on that one.
Susie, you kept track of those two amendments that he gave you, the ones that
He's going to give me the text for
He's
the
gonna-
one that's in the discussion of the on-call model, and I changed minimum wage to 15. And
so yes. So let's vote on the as amended with those edits. All in favor? Wait a second, everybody shifted on me. Susie, I'm gonna go down from top to bottom.
Mosier, aye.
Farrell, Rita.
Hayden,
gonna
aye.
Hold on.
I'm going to abstain. I was not present at that meeting.
Cheryl,
Hayden, aye.
Mike,
Yeah,
Mary Jo,
Johnson, I.
Melody,
Bartier, aye.
Kristen,
Burgess, aye.
and Makepeace O'Neill, aye. Okay, let's move on to, and I took my agenda down, the update of the survey and the distribution method. So this was a task that Becky and I had been tasked with, and she and I had worked together now with getting data to the number of households, which is 858 households. I spoke with the Mail Direct company, and he and I formulated to make sure that all the pieces will be perfectly put together. He was very, very helpful, and looks like I'm emailing him the Word documents, the PDFs he wasn't able to adjust in the way his printers needed. So I'm going to send him the Word documents, and he will print them up. The surveys will have numbers on page 1 and page 2. Page 3 is a little harder and would require a lot of work, would slow it down. So page 1 and page 2 will have the survey number, and they will, page 3 will not, although it will have page 3 on it. So we will know that it belongs to page 3. And we should have them in 3 to 4 days. They should be ready.
Great.
To mail out. And Linda,
Well, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. I have a question. Are you saying that the numbers will go on pages 1 and 2 of the survey or of the mailing?
of the survey. So
Okay,
the surveys will have numbers, a survey number. They will be random as far as which one gets in each packet. They won't be consecutive in each one, but there will be a survey number on there, and so it won't be on the whole mailing. What your question was, just on the survey. That's the only piece he's numbering for us.
okay.
Yeah, and Linda Avis Scott's gonna call up and help work out the mailing logistics. There's a few things that she does with the newsletter, and this is not much different. This just same thing, going to the same number of people. So she's going to work with Becky and him to get that squared away with the mailing list stuff.
And there will be 2 surveys in each mailing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep, I'm going to reiterate all that today, kind of the conversation he and I reiterated today. So, yep.
Is there a cost for this?
There is. Has not given it to me yet. That's once he gets the documents and able to run them and have all the information, he will, and the information from Linda, he'll be able to give us a cost, but there is a cost. Yes.
Thank you for getting that done.
Thank you. You're welcome. I'm kind of excited to see what it looks like. So that's any questions along with that at all? No? Okay. All right. So the next is
Melody has a question,
I'm
Melissa.
sorry, Melody. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, this is just like kind of a dumb question, but is the survey going to have like the Shutesbury Town logo on it so people don't think that this isn't an official thing, or how do people know? I mean, is it?
So they'll have this, it'll come with this sort of official looking. I don't know if you can see that, probably can't. You know how you get your newsletter and it has the typeface here, and it'll have something on the back that says police study group survey enclosed, returned by the 14th of February. So it'll look official in that capacity. Okay. So it'll be like what people have seen from town before. Right. Okay. Not a dumb question at all. Okay. So let's move on to the other town budgets. And I know I had sent this out to everybody before. So the other towns that I had put the budgets together for were New Salem, Wendell, Leverett. I'm just going to open my folder because let's see. G. Okay, so Pelham, Shutesbury, we have done Leverett, Wendell. So I can put those up on screen. We can kind of glance at them real quick if everybody would like that.
That'd be great. And I made you a co-host.
Thank you, Becky. One second to share. Let's do the first one I come to is Pelham. So we'll do Pelham. I know that's great.
I don't believe I have a New Salem one. Did I miss?
Yeah, I thought I had it, and I needed some more information from them. And,
Okay, good. So I have the other ones.
yeah, no, it wasn't New Salem. I apologize for that. Okay.
When did you send that out, Melissa?
It was a while ago. Let me share this, and I will grab that screen.
In December?
Yeah, it was December.
Yes, it was early in December.
Yeah, I think it was the 6th or the 9th or something like that.
9th, yes, 9th.
I have some observations. Are we ready to discuss them?
Yeah, we can discuss this one. Yep.
Okay, so I observed that Pelham has about 74% of the population that Shutesbury has about the same square miles.
Mm-hmm.
And from year to year, it's about 1% higher costs than Shutesbury. And the chief is paid about the same. And the costs in some of the other budgets for the other officers are spread out a little differently, so it's a little hard to guess.
It is, yeah.
But I would say that Shutesbury's other police wages are higher than what's going on in Pelham, and we don't know what kind of coverage they strive for in terms of hours and days. So it seemed in some ways Pelham is relatively similar to Shutesbury, but it does have a higher cost with a lower population number.
Good observation. Anybody else want to take a look, feel for that, notice anything? I thought this was just doing the exercise, putting this together was pretty informative. I can put up the other one if you like, if the people are done looking at this one.
Do we
The
know?
other, oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was just going to ask if we know what the average percent of annual budget is for police in small towns.
It's, well,
So that's a good question. I've got some more numbers I've been putting together. So right now, at least Pelham actually was higher at 4.3%, 37% of the ones I had put together from the towns that I had emailed out at this point. But they do settle around about 3% if you were to average them together.
Thank you.
I got some more coming with some more data that I have just previously found in the last few days. So, but on average, it's about 3% across most, even large towns.
Melissa, I have a question.
Go ahead.
So this data is including fuel expenses, regional lockup expenses, and town road details. And we don't do that in our.
So you'll notice I took it right from their budget and their the things they sent me. So these are the categories they use within their department.
Right, but it doesn't correspond to what we use in our department.
Well, it's just, excuse me, may I?
Yes.
It's just broken down differently, Mike. So it's actually broken apart where everything for us for our expenses is joined together and not itemized. This is just more itemized. We do pay lockup. Town road detail, though, I'm not sure what they're meaning here. I don't know if they're setting money aside for paying details, but as far as lockup goes, expenses, fuel expenses, that's just more itemized. Training and education, that's an itemized in Pelham, whereas we just lump it all together.
And there's some towns that just list the payroll and then expenses, and that's it. That's all you get. So
does that help? Does that help though, Mike?
But
Well,
the fuel in the Shutesbury budget is in one line item for all three departments, highway,
Yeah.
fire, and police. So the fuel line is different.
Yes.
So if we wanted apples to apples, you'd have to subtract out the fuel line and learn what the town road detail is covering.
and I can put that together and call them up and ask them if you want. But this was just taking their budgets and putting it to, you're going to find differences in even what they call everything. Go ahead, Susie.
I don't feel it's a reasonable thing to ask you to go ahead and piece out each town's budget separately. I feel like we're looking at a ballpark and I can deal with that. I'm not gonna need the level of detail, and we are all volunteers and I don't expect you to do that.
Thank you. The next bit of information I have coming is very, it's across wider range of Franklin County towns, and it's just very, very general and very, very general, very grouped together, but still, I think, important information. So like I said, they were directly from the budgets, just how it was listed. And you'll see there's a couple other towns that list very less. So it was just taking their budgets and comparing them. But I think what's important and what I think we were all looking for in the budgets is how much are they spending on their policing, how much are they spending on their departments, and then using that in some form for our own use here. So that's what I had put together. Any other questions on this one? Because I will put up one of the next town. If any more questions? Okay. Not hearing any. Give me 1 second. Pelham, we've already done Shutesbury. Leverett. All right, let me know. I may have to shift the screen around a little bit. This one is small and I apologize. Okay. So as you can see, Leverett does a lot more data within there. They portion it out much more than we do. I'm gonna move it up so you can see. Does anybody want me to make that bigger?
Is it possible for you to move it over so we can see more current data?
The current one is on the left.
Right, far left.
Yeah,
I can make it big enough so we can see that more.
Oh, I can
readily.
see it. I think we can see it.
well, I can't see it, so that's why I said that.
Yep, so I can scroll up and down, you just let me know. But do you see it now, Melody?
No,
where
it cuts off on 2019, so I can't see whatever's to the left of that.
Really?
Yeah.
Is that better?
No, because now you're sending me to the right.
That's
Okay.
strange. I can see the entire.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, me too.
Okay.
Melody, try to put your cursor in the middle of that picture and see if you can slide it to the left or to the right. Does it slide for you?
No.
Okay, I apologize. I'm not quite sure. It's filling my entire screen.
Okay. Maybe it's my view. I apologize. I don't mean to.
That's okay. No, that's fine. I will make sure I'll send this one to you separately if you want, just to so you can look at it in a bit. So does anyone have any questions here? Obviously, Leverett does list out their entire, very detailed in how they portion out and budget themselves.
So Leverett has about the same population as Shutesbury?
About 1865 by 2020 census. Yeah, we have 17 something by 2020.
1717.
Thank you.
And what is our square? Oh, wait a minute. I have it here.
Up in the
26.
corner of each one, up in the left corner.
I think it's 26 square miles or something like that.
Shutesbury's
Okay, so
27
Leverett
and
is-
Leverett's 22,
You're
23.
Right, we're 27.
Okay.
And they're
So
about
it's pretty
23.
similar.
5 square miles. We have about a fifth again, the square mileage than they do.
A fifth more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought
And
that
our total budget is also very similar. So
And this hits about the average of the 3% range of full town budget.
yep.
I noticed that Leverett's budget has been relatively stable. I don't know how much of this FY22, I don't believe it incorporated the agreement that, I doubt that it incorporates the agreement that they made with Wendell. The police chief's salary is about $10,000 higher than ours.
Mhm.
And also the other officers, best I can figure out, are less expensive than the other officers in our budget. They also have a police study group that's meeting now. I don't know the mission or charge that group has, but they do have a police study group. The woman joined us at the last meeting, or a couple meetings ago.
That police study group. Okay, Becky, you take it. You're going to say the same thing.
No, go ahead, Kristen.
So the police study group that she was referring to is not a charge put on by the town of Leverett. It's a self derived group in and of itself. So it's not charged by the town, and it's not a study group. It's a
It's a justice, like a economic justice review.
Social
Or
Justice
Social
Committee
Justice.
Social Justice Committee. Thank you for jogging my memory, is actually what it's called. And they are an entity outside of the town. The town just respects their opinions as they come forward.
Thank you. Thank you for letting us know. Does anybody have any other observations or questions here? And then again, this was taken right from their town budgets that their town administrator sent me.
Just observing that it's around the 3%-ish range. So
This
in
is-
line with that 3%.
It is, okay. I will pop up Leverett, we've done Leverett and Pelham. I will pop up Wendell. This one's interesting. Nope, open. I can make this one bigger because I have space, and share number 1 and go. Can everybody see that? This is Wendell's. Like I said, it's very lumped together.
Well, that's very interesting because for 20 to 21, they don't have in there what they're paying Wendell. I mean, what they're paying Leverett. It's just their own chief and expenses.
So
Yeah.
that would be reflective of the budget in the contract that they have with
Right,
Leverett.
but that should be part of their policing budget.
But this is FY21. We're now working on,
These are right. They didn't
Right.
have their 22. She was did not
Right.
send me. So
Right.
I will ask for 2022. I mean 22. The one thing that I observed here when I did this is it made sense why Wendell was looking to go maybe merge or contract, because their budget is so small for their policing. Contracting with a small budget like this probably makes sense. Anyway, Michael.
Yeah, some of the discussion I had with Dan Keller on the select board at Wendell is basically that they've taken their $44,000 police budget and given that to Leverett. So Leverett is providing their policing
For that fee.
at $44,000. That may change in the future as their call volume either increases or decreases. But for right now, that's basically what they're working on.
So it was just a transfer of the pay for service. They didn't up the budget. They just took what they were spending, Mike, and
Well,
put it into that contract.
how
is
does
what-
that work then? Don't they have to have some, according to state law, don't they have to have somebody in town that is associated with police services?
They have to provide police services is what I believe Howe is also, as long as they provide them, right? The law, state law says it has to provide police services. So they contract the services with Wendell. I mean Leverett.
Okay, I don't understand, because in our discussion where we were talking about just depending on the state police, we were told that we couldn't do that. We had to have somebody in town.
Christy, you can probably better do that. I think it was you have to provide police services. Right.
Other than state
Yep.
police.
Other than right.
Right, so you have to provide a standard of state police. So Cheryl, think of it like this. We have license to carry. You have to have somebody that oversees that. Mass State Police is not going to pick that up. There are other things that have to be overseen in that area. So you have to have someone a local police service. So what has happened here is they have their own animal control officer, and Leverett responds to all of the calls from Leverett all the way through Shutesbury into Wendell to respond to these calls. And the expenses were just taken and given to Leverett as if Leverett is now operated, or as Wendell is now operated by Leverett. So they take care of the license to carry. They do have an animal control officer. They have response to emergencies. And when they are unable to respond, then Massachusetts State Police will come in.
Thank you, Kristen. Did you have your hand up for any other reason?
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Does that answer your question, Cheryl?
Yes.
Mostly. Okay. Kristen, did you have your hand up for another reason? And then I see Susie's.
Oh, no, I don't think so. I'll just lower it. Sorry.
That's okay. Susie.
So Wendell has about half the population. They have about a fifth again, the square miles. They have a cultural history of their relationship to their police department that's pretty different than Shutesbury. And in general, the entire town budget sort of reflects some of that energy, that it stays small. But you can see it in this one. And at the amount they had there, they needed to reorganize. And whether it stays at 44,000 will be interesting to see.
Yeah, it's been pretty steady over the years that we're here. Yeah, you're right, Susie. I see Mike and then Becky.
Yeah, Susie, so what, I don't understand, what's you said there's a cultural difference between Wendell and Shutesbury regarding policing. Can you elaborate on that? I'm not quite sure I understand what that is.
When I was teaching up in Wendell, Annie Diamond was the police chief, and it's just very different. The kind of relaxed attitude, you see it in their building, in the ways people build houses up there. And that was a while ago. I'm not sure how it changed, but you can ask people around the valley how you might compare the energy in Shutesbury as in Wendell. And so it didn't surprise me that they had a very small police department. People don't expect the police to be out in their space very much. They expect to not see the police. And that was true. And cultures can change, but that's the way it was when I was out there teaching.
And how long ago was that?
I taught there in the late 70s or early 80s, I guess.
My experiences with every now and then too with Wendell is that it was not an aggressively policed area. It just was not. It was not. It was not. I don't remember ever seeing too much police activity or police vehicles in Wendell driving through, and I drive through quite often. So it's just a different philosophy.
And is there a crime any worse than Shutesbury's?
Depends on who you're asking.
Kristen probably answered that. I'm assuming it's the same.
Well, I think now's a good time to explore that.
Okay, great. So I can tell you that we respond with Wendell almost probably to more than 50% of their calls over in Wendell we're asked to go to. Specifically if they are domestic related calls, they've asked us to join. We're happy to do that. And typically we do get there before Leverett gets there just because we are closer to them. I'll tell you, with all my discussions with the people in Wendell and anybody I have come in contact with, and Wendell does come into our town and I end up interacting with people from Wendell, we have found that Wendell says, it's always been this way. We don't have a large police presence. And I think that the budget is indicative of that. I'm sure if we went back, further than 2015, we would find that it's just relatively small. They weren't expecting a lot. There was not a lot of community policing as we know community policing. And that's at present right now. I think Susie's experience in 87, if you said, Susie, is probably close to the experiences that people have now. And I think that if they felt that they wanted a different culture in policing, they would definitely have not continued with their smaller level budget and asked Leverett to just, absorb that. I think they would have, gone in a different direction.
I'm not sure. Kristen, I'm not sure. What do you mean like a different direction? Like what?
Well, I think that if the culture was changing in the immediate, in the present, that they probably would say, okay, look, the culture of the police department and the expectations of the residents is that we want more of a full-time department. I think they would have looked into changing that. It's really just been for a very lengthy period. And I've talked to so many people from Wendell, and not just from being in Wendell, but from having Wendell residents travel through our town, stop in our town, have questions to us in the town as well. That really this is something that is how it's always been, and that there's not that. So is there crime in Wendell? I'll get you the stats on that. If anybody wants to have that next visit, I can definitely print out the logs and show what's been going on over there. And I can if we're interested, show some statistics in regards to that. Great question.
Well, I look at this as, here's a town who has decided to go with a, what we're calling a fee-for-service model. And they've been at this for a couple of years now. It's not absolutely formalized as of yet, but for several years, the Wendell Police Department has been providing police services for Wendell. And I would think if there were some issues with this, it would be coming up, by now. But from my talks with Dan Keller, Wendell seems to be very happy with how things are working out. And
oh, I'm not saying that Wendell wouldn't be happy, Mike. I'm saying that this is the natural culture of what their expectations are. Their expectations are, we want a chief that's going to provide $15,000 in attention to us, and we want our expenses to what it looks like includes even salary. We want $20,000 of presence of patrol. So I'm not saying that they're complaining. And in fact, I'm saying the opposite. I'm saying that's what they're used to. They're used to limited, relatively compared to what we have in Shutesbury. That's all.
And they also have almost half the population. I mean, they have a significant lower population too.
And I think that it was did anyone say this? I think that this was very easy of a transition for them because of the size of the budget, the transition going from what they had to a fee for service was a very easy transition because of the lower end of the budget that it was, because the fees were so small and the expectations were smaller.
Well, so I'm trying to figure out here. So what you're saying is that this model couldn't work for Shutesbury because we expect more from policing, and we I don't know. Is that, I don't want to put words in your mouth or anything like that.
Yeah, don't put words in my mouth, Mike. I'm not saying that. I never said anything couldn't work or could work. I'm just speaking to the culture of Wendell. And we could go back into expectations of Shutesbury and community policing, but that's not what I'm speaking about. I was not trying to be, I was not stating whether this would work for us or not. I was stating what the culture of Wendell is and my experience with the residents and the people that call for service and what their expectations are. That's all.
Well, okay. Well, so, being on this committee, I'm trying to figure out if something like this would work for Shutesbury, and maybe, maybe Kristen, you're not the person to ask. Maybe, the rest of the committee has some input on this. But, why, could this work for Shutesbury? I mean, I guess I'll throw that question out. Is this something that could work for Shutesbury?
And I think that's a topic, for another meeting where we do talk about the individual models and start asking that question. Could this work for Shutesbury as we go through as we're waiting for the survey results. But this is just looking at the budgets, right? So could it work for Shutesbury? It's a question. I mean,
Well, we're looking at the budgets and I think relationship to how much towns are spending for policing and you know, here we are looking at a town with a very inexpensive budget that is doing a fee for service model. So, you know, I think instead of just looking at these to compare percentages of budget being spent on police service, I think it's our job to see, you know, how does this factor into Shutesbury's ability or need or desire to look at alternative policing structures.
I think that partly that's what some of the survey will tell us is what Shutesbury is wanting. I mean, we can ask this. I think what we're seeing here is Wendell deciding, rather than going through providing the policing and those options, they said, well, we'll just buy for service. And because it was so low, it was just easy to do for them, right? It's not like, and they obviously have a different policing philosophy than even Leverett, I would imagine. So I think we're seeing a lot on this page.
We're just speculating here. We don't know why Wendell did things.
No.
I think that this is not a useful way to use our time.
I see several hands. Susie, Becky, Rita. I didn't see them go up in order, so that's how
I just want to say that you can't consider a police budget apart from the community energy. And that probably is a problem if we try to do it that way. You can go up to Wendell, you can hang out, you can listen, you can figure it out. Wendell's a very different community than Shutesbury.
Becky.
I just want to mention that I've been trying to get a report from Leverett on where they have come out financially in their relationship, their fee-for-service model with Wendell, and that is still, I keep being told it's still under discussion. They had, I believe, a Collins Institute study to help direct them. They are still debating on, you know, their core issues. I think because to get more than they're getting now, which is very minimal, will require a much larger sum of money. So that's why it's, you know, they're still discussing that and there are debates over that. It's unresolved. So we have this amount here now, but where it goes next, you know, for this current year, I think they're still trying to work it out.
Rita.
Yeah, I was just going to say, you know, I think we keep conflating the models with sort of what the needs are. And the reason why we were doing the survey in the first place is to understand what the expectations are of people in Shutesbury and not jumping to what the solutions are and what the possible best models are until we really get that information. So, you know, the two are kind of separate issues, but one logically leads us into the other. And I assume that once we have the survey results that we can begin to talk about the level of policing, the budget, and whether or not any other, we want to look or recommend to the select board any other models than what we currently have.
Thank you, Rita. All right, so we did Wendell, Pelham, Leverett. I don't have Northampton. I mean, New Salem, I'm sorry. Looking at something that said Northampton. So those are the ones that I had. Thinking about these, is there any other towns that we might want to compare to in the same way that we have? New Salem being one of them. I'm working on getting that one, but other than New Salem.
I was just gonna say New Salem, yeah.
Yeah, I'm working on getting that from them. Becky?
Oh, I didn't put it down, sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. I see, go ahead, Rachel. Oh, you're muted.
Rachel Schwabi Horka. I'm a town resident for over 20 years. And I am a little concerned that we are trying to compare Shutesbury, or that some people are trying to compare Shutesbury to Wendell. Shutesbury has almost twice the amount of population as Wendell. And so I have a really strong concern about that. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay. Is there any other town budgets that you'd like me to pull and put together in the same way? I do have some across Franklin County that are very basic, what I've been able to find, but it gives some data that is important. I found some data on size of all the departments across Franklin County as well. Size of number of officers and such, and I'll put that in a spreadsheet just to us to have room. Any other suggestions for budgets we'd like to see?
If you're going to do a spreadsheet with number of officers, you need to put in the town population and the town size too. Okay.
Yep, got that. I think that's important for us to look at when we analyze it.
So I have a question about that. So can you refresh my memory here then on, I mean, we're looking at these budgets and they're basically about the same amount, 3 to 4% of the budget. So what exactly are we getting at here? I mean, are we, I hate to say this, but what's the point of this exercise to look at all these other towns and see that they're spending the same amount as Shutesbury is on policing?
Well, it was to analyze what other towns are spending. So if when we're looking at other models, whatever the survey gives us for guidance on those things, that we're able to compare and see what other towns are spending, what Shutesbury's spending, possibly what the philosophy is on some of them, just to know, are we in line? Are we not in line? Right? We're just comparing information together. What are our neighbors doing? Because that's important to know.
Well, I would think, our budget is somewhere around $220,000, something like that. If it's going to be significantly more than that, I don't think the select board's going to go there. And if it's significantly less than that, probably means that there's going to be things that we aren't going to have now. So I'm not quite sure why we're going through all this trouble to look at these other towns' budgets when, unless it's right around what we're doing, it's not really going to matter.
Well, I think it's
Mike, it's gathering information, which is useful.
I see Melody,
Either way.
Kristen, and Mary Jo's hand.
Thank you. And again, this might be an obvious question, but I'm kind of wondering, like, I agree with Rita's earlier point that some of the discussions we're having maybe, better had when we see what the results of the survey are. But I'm also wondering about, like, and I know this is probably not the time to bring this up because we're going to be mailing out the survey, but like, are we prepared to live with the results of the survey? I mean, like, I'm just wondering, I know that the select board makes the decision ultimately, and you can choose to listen to the survey or not listen to it. But I just want to raise that because, like, I feel like, we all of us being human beings, maybe we're just invested in certain models, we're invested in certain outcomes, and, not judging any of those, but I'm just wondering, like, are we prepared to live with the results of the survey? That's all. Thank you.
I see the survey, and others can jump in here. I see the survey is letting us know what the town residents would like to live, what they would like to live as a policing option for them. I think the decision the select board make will be made on information that's brought forward ultimately, but that's what I feel, that it's giving us information of what the townspeople want. We've asked questions to give them to give us guidance, right? Which gives the select board guidance in that.
Right.
So
Right, but I'm just wondering if the survey comes back with suggestions that you don't like as a select board, then I just would hope that, there's not a setup here for disappointment on either side.
no, I think people will give us their opinions, and we all differ in opinion, and we all, hopefully happily accept everybody's differing opinions, but it's the only way to tell what the public wants. I mean, we could just decide to do this and then get to town meeting and it just falls to the floor because no one wants it. We want to know ahead of time so that we're not going through that whole process and then have it fail, right? And
No, I'm not disagreeing with the survey. I'm just raising the question just because.
No, it's a good question. It's a good question.
Only because, I worked for a company, they asked all the employees what color carpet they wanted, which was not a question they should have asked the employees. And then, nobody was happy. Nobody was happy, and I'm just concerned. I don't want there to be undue conflict in the town over, that's all I'm raising. I'm not trying to push any agenda or say somebody's wrong. I'm just, I would just hate to have another carpet fiasco.
I understand that. Rita, I saw your hand go up while we were discussing that, so I'm going to call on you next. Got it?
Yeah, I'd hate to have a carpet fiasco too, unless it was a magic carpet fiasco. Yeah, so I think the recommendations, I can speak as a select board member that the recommendations come to the select board. We present it to town meeting, and that's where stuff really finally does get decided. That they're the town meeting fixes approves the budget. If they don't like the recommendations, if they don't feel that the budget or if there's an article attached to this is to their liking, it's town meeting that ultimately decides. So that's the end all. That's the stopping place.
And that's if we changed what we have now, right? We wouldn't bring up what we have there. It would be if we changed it, right?
Well, I mean, town meeting, even if we presented what we had now, realistically, we're not changing things for this town meeting. It would take way too long to change course from where we are. Any different models require negotiation. Look at how long it's taken Wendell and Leverett to reach any kind of agreement. But town meeting could say we want to slash the police budget in half, and then we're faced with saying, we have this, we have the current model, we have to live within a much lower budget amount, and then going forward, what does that mean? How are we going to deal with that? So that, I don't see any new model happening immediately. It's just not within the realm of possibility because of all of the contracts and so forth. But the budget amount, if town meeting said we don't want such a big police budget, then that could force the select board's hand and the police department's hand into a very different situation.
Kristen, Mary Jo, Susie.
I know I don't live in town, but I do spend more time with all of you than I spend with my own family. And I do truly love this town. And I believe in transparency, and I believe in, knowledge. And I feel that it's super important to, Mike, to your point, to your question, what is this exercise about? It's about collecting knowledge. And how do we know where we are? if we don't know where everyone else is around us. And everyone else around us does interplay with what we do. I have accepted a long time ago, whatever happens through this happens through this. And I will continue to love this town no matter what. But I think it's ever so important to have fairness, equality, and transparency throughout this entire process, even when I don't agree with it. So I think that having this information is really important, especially to compare where we are to where someone else is. So that's, Mike, that's what I really think is super important. And wherever it falls, it falls.
Mary Jo?
So my comment kind of goes back to the original question about other towns that might be interesting to know about in terms of their police budget and finances. And I was actually hoping that the relationship between Wendell and Leverett would be a little bit more financially interesting. Like,
It's not, I
it
thought
seems as though potentially the negotiation process and how that all comes out with small towns that agree to share police services could potentially be quite complex. Or maybe not if you're Wendell and Leverett. But if you were going to gather more information, I would say it would be interesting to know about towns that have actually made a transition like this and what it's been like for them financially and otherwise. And at the time that we started this police group, I don't know if she would potentially be a resource for this, but Grace, our clerk, mentioned that there's a listserv of all town clerks that she could put questions out on. Maybe we could find some towns in Massachusetts that have, changed their police setup in this way and see what their experience was.
Okay. I wrote that down. Thank you. Susie, and then we have to think about shifting.
2 minutes, 2-minute warning.
Okay. When Rita gave the example that town meeting could slash the budget, I feel like we are in a sensitive time. And so I want to say town meeting could also endorse the budget. It could also increase the budget. Town meeting does have budgetary powers. And having put the survey out there might stir the waters in terms of people deciding what they want as police for police coverage. So it's true that we have a committee with a charge and we're working on it. It's true that the select board will read the recommendations or read the information and think about what to do. But it's also true that town meeting can endorse the police department the way it is.
Right, it can go up or down. You're right, Susie. Okay, so we do have our 2-minute warning, now down to 1 minute. Is there anything that people would like to see on the next budget? This is what I put down from our conversation. Jeff Lacey's email, charge, and some outline of a draft of starting a drafting of a report and re-looking at the charge, the on-call model for further discussion, the other reports we had here, which was just a vague term. I'll try to get New Salem's done for the next one. Anything else that people want to? No? That's good? Oh, I see Tim's hand. Tim, what would you like us to do?
I'll go real quick. I just wanted to point out that the chief of police who's participating in this is, in my opinion, in a difficult role. And the integrity with which she's conducting that role is pretty amazing. And I think it's representative of how she does her job as well. And I just wanted to say, I can't say enough about how admirable that conduct is. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim. Okay, so the next meeting would be February 3rd.
Melissa, I will not be at that meeting.
Okay. Okay. do you want us to make sure the link is sent to you so you can watch if you want to do that, or you'll ask? Yeah. we'll
Yeah,
send the link. Okay.
I'll be out of the country for that meeting, but I'll watch it when I get back.
Yeah. Okay. We'll make sure that you get what you need for that. Kristen, you're raising your hand.
I'm so sorry. I wanted to remember to say this and I forgot. Here I am with it. In the spirit of transparency, would it be possible to have, other than myself, someone or different people from the committee go to the police department and ask the police officers how they feel things are going in the police department?
That's a great idea.
Becky.
I just want to say on the fire chief study committee wrote up a list of questions so that each person in the department was asked the same questions, and then they were collected and compiled and reported back. And a similar format, I think, could be really productive. And the questions were put together by a subcommittee and then approved by the full committee before they met with the party. So I'm just suggesting repeating that might be a good way to go.
Okay. Do we want to add that to our next agenda as well? Maybe talk about that a little bit. Okay. So I'll add that on. 5:45. Okay for the next one, or 5:30?
Fine with me.
5:45.
Okay. All right. All right.
5:45 for me.
5:45. Okay. All right. Perfect. All right. So everybody, do I hear a motion? Adjourn.
So moved.
Second,
All right. All in favor? I'll go bottom up. Kristen,
Burgess, aye.
Melody,
Chartier, aye.
Mary Jo,
Johnson, I.
Mike,
Pinsky, aye.
Drew,
Mosier, aye.
Gita. Oh,
Farrell,
yeah,
aye.
Okay. Perfect. Make peace, O'Neill. Aye. Okay. Thank you, everybody.
You missed me. Hey, you missed
Okay.
me.
Oh, I'm sorry. Cheryl.
Mhm.
Hey, my.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye.